Hello, Aries. Thank you for joining me today for your yearly 2020 ASMR tarot forecast. So, if you watched the January readings, I used this deck. So I'll be using it also for the yearly 2020 readings, and then I will be using this Enigma deck as well, which is similar to a Lotteria deck. And I also will be finishing out the reading, pulling. This isn't a fortune telling deck. This is the 72 Names of God, and it's a meditation deck. So this is a tool that you could use, and I'll do a separate video going more into this deck, but I'm going to pull 3 of these to be your meditations for the year of 2020. Also, for the videos this year, I am using this raw selenite wand. I also have with me here a pink kyanite, pink kunzite wand, and this amethyst wand. Pink kunzite. So, the way that these readings are going to work is slightly different from the Celtic Cross spread. I will be laying out 12 cards from the tarot deck. Actually, I'm going to lay out cards from the Enigma deck first. And then I'm going to select 3 cards from the tarot deck for each one of these cards. So, first, I'm going to deal out these cards all at once. And All right, Aries. Years, a long time, huh? Been doing these readings for a little over a year. I remember how I did the readings last year. These are going to be a little bit different from that because a lot has changed for me in that time. All right, and I am going to deal all of these out upright. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Excuse me, I'm so sorry. 9, 10, 11, 12. All right. Do any of you listen to Little Ugly Mane? Little Ugly Mane released this really excellent EP this past year. And the art for that was an eye like this with the rays coming down. It's actually an image that I myself have used before in different design applications for my musical project. So I was immediately drawn to it. And it's a very, very good EP. It's on Spotify. But that's not important right now, is it? What's important is what will be happening for you this year, 2020. I didn't leave myself very much room to shuffle. But I'll make it work. Oh. And we do have here the Page of Pentacles jumping out of the deck. Let's put that guy over there, actually. Yeah, let's see. All right. So, 1, 2, 3. These cards will have reverse meanings. 1, 2, 3. All right. So I've already done the reading for January. Let's see how this compares. I've got this card, the Messenger. Everything in this deck is very much about not just the occult and occult symbolism, but contact with the beyond, with extraterrestrials, and with the higher order of the universe, whatever higher power might be out there. So I would think the Messenger, he's got little flame they kind of look like flames, and they kind of look like yods. Some of the tarot cards have little yods on them in places, the Hebrew letter yod. We have, let's look at this a little more closely. We have arrows going up and down on either side of the card. And we have this at the bottom, body, mind, and spirit, or any number of trilogies. We also have here the two eyes in your head, and then the third eye above that bridges the gap between this world and the astral plane. And then to go with that and a higher understanding in January, we have the Four of Wands, the Ten of Pentacles, and the Star. So the Four of Wands and the Ten of Pentacles are about the completion of a cycle, and it is a completion leading to your success. So definitely a very auspicious beginning to 2020. And then actually the Star and the Messenger are very similar cards. So it looks like what is going on with you is that you are coming into alignment with your higher purpose, which just so happens to coincide with your coming into this completion. You can see here this man and his family, and there's an older figure over here, so perhaps this is a court situation. But the man is looking at his family, but then there's this other figure over here that's kind of being ignored. And then the Four of Wands card is kind of like the marriage card in the deck. It usually represents marriage. So, excuse me, it could represent marriage, but it doesn't have to. It could just be that kind of closure to a situation. So it's very good that in the month of January, you're actually completing a cycle in a very tidy, pleasant way. It's a great way to start the year. Let's see what we have next. Interesting. We have this card, which is the heart. And the heart, of course, being about love and hate. We have the Nine of Cups, which is the wish card, wish fulfillment. And then these cards are actually reversed. And it's very interesting that we got the Nine of Cups, which is the wish fulfillment card. And then we immediately get the Ten of Cups reversed. And the Ace of Pentacles reversed, where we had the Ten of Pentacles here in January. And to me, now, with all of these things together like this, one of my very favorite, it's not really a lyric from a Marilyn Manson album, but it is some words that are on Antichrist Superstar. When all of your wishes are granted, many of your dreams will be destroyed. And to me, this very much is that kind of a situation, that you get everything that you desire in February. But for whatever reason, it's not fulfilling your heart. Maybe we'll find out some more of that. This is mostly just a preview for your year too, so you can definitely get more like a personal reading, and these will not be anywhere near as in depth as the individual monthly readings. But it should give you kind of an idea of how the flow of your year will be. Next, we have the skull. I love skulls. I like to have them around. I debated actually putting this clear resin skull that I got into this video. Now, the skull here, we have this kind of radiating down from the higher power. There's the cross up here, and there's the moon down here. And of course, just like in the messenger card over here, we've got these little flames, right? So that's very interesting, that spark of divinity within all of us. And then also the idea of being able to bridge between the physical world and the astral plane. Actually, the moon is largely responsible for that. So, just as it orbits the Earth and connects us to the solar system and to the universe, so does it represent the ability of those here on the physical plane to transcend and touch the divine. We have an Ace of Cups for March. This is March. We have the Emperor in reverse. And probably most importantly, we have this choice, the Two of Swords, and it is reversed, which means that either you don't like either of the options, or that the decision is going to be made for you. But in some ways, this looks like the choice that you will be making between the harshness of authoritarianism or the softness of a new emotional start. It's possible that this refers to a relationship in which you have the option of leaving for something new or buckling down on this person, and neither one of those are going to make you content. But how does this relate to the skull? So we're looking at this like a timeline, and we've got here, you had in February these things occurring in which you did get what you wanted, but it wasn't like how you wanted it. And I think this is a similar continuation along that line. But the skull is here to remind you that it's not just like you're not getting any younger. It's more than that. It's how much of your life are you going to waste on these things that aren't really making you happy? And more importantly than your happiness, how much of your life are you going to use chasing things that are not getting you closer to your higher power? Because I think that by March, that's really going to be what January and February's events are leading up to. And it's very interesting that this Page of Pentacles was what jumped out of the deck. And I did draw an extra 3 cards from the deck. And if I need to pull clarifiers, I will. But this all seems to kind of be a continuing line so far. I do see that everything actually looks really good. Really good. Outside of your own opinions of the chain of events so far. April. Happy birthday, Aries. Duality. All right, here's where we start to see the split that was hinted at here in March. And some of you might have March birthdays. I know late March is also Aries season. This card of duality is very complex as well. So we've got all these little flecks, that's the star stuff. And then we have here in the place where the heart would be, we have a Mobius strip. So representing the infinity of the spirit. And then in addition to that, all of these lines going around these two forms. If any of you are familiar with the Monroe Institute, Robert Monroe did talk quite a bit, especially in relation to his first out-of-body experience, about the idea of being in two places at one time. So I think, Aries, when it comes to your birthday month, you may be entering a period in which you are developing the ability to split. But is it a forced split, or is it under your control? The cards that we have for that are the Hierophant, the Four of Pentacles, and the Nine of Swords. And the Four of Pentacles and the Nine of Swords are both reversed. So let's deal with the Hierophant first. The Hierophant is interesting because he's not the Emperor. and he's not the high priestess. He is an official, allegedly ordained by God, and is in charge of relating the word of that higher power to the subjects of the church, but not in the way that an ascetic or a seer would do. Here, he is also constrained by the order around him. I'm sure that there were many higher officials in the church throughout history who are genuinely gifted with psychic abilities and vision. But the nature of organized religion is to constrain that. So let's get to this Four of Pentacles. Now, the Four of Pentacles here, you can see how tightly he's clinging to that money. And because it's reversed, I think you're clinging too tightly to something in your birthday month of April. And maybe it's trying to keep these two parts of yourself together. Possibly, like many of us, you have a multifaceted life that involves many different kinds of activities, and you would like to be able to balance and have time for all of them. And possibly what is occurring is that you're going to have to let something go. Or maybe you're being pulled off in a specific direction. The Hierophant is very much about the higher order and having to maintain and uphold it. And maybe your will, as it seems from some of the earlier parts of the timeline, is in opposition to the order. And then, of course, we have here the Nine of Swords. And the Nine of Swords is very much about sleepless nights. It's about being stressed out. And because it's in the reverse, I feel like it's not necessary for you to feel that level of distress. This is something that you should be able to flow with and not be fighting and not be worrying about. All right. So let's go into May. January, February, March, April, May. We have the full moon. So the full moon in May will be very crucial to these events. And all right, we have the Devil inversed. We have the Five of Pentacles, and we have the Chariot reversed. Now, in May, what I see this as saying pretty clearly, actually, is that you will be conquering the baser parts of your nature. But it's not going to be in time to salvage. And you're going to feel like you've been left out in the cold. And all of this coming to pass around the full moon. I don't have a calendar in front of me. I should really, I think, I do always buy one of those little Llewellyn planetary planners with all of the alignments in it and use it as a journal. So I think one of my resolutions moving forward is to have it by my side while I do these readings so that I can be more accurate with the astrological information that I give you. But make sure that you look up when that full moon is going to be and plan accordingly. So the Chariot here is a card of victory and triumph. It is in the inverse here. And there's also the idea of duality in this card. Duality plays a huge role in the tarot. And you have these sphinxes here representing the pillars of mercy and severity from the Tree of Life. Excuse me. Lightness and dark. And a castle in the background. But like I said, I don't think that the events in May will unfold in a way that will keep you from this, even though a lot of the feelings that you've had in the first part of the year will be resolved in May. Those feelings will be resolved, but I don't think it will be in time to have the outcome that you desire. All right. June. Summertime. Let's see what we have here. We have the Tooth. The Tooth is a very simple card on the surface. But do keep in mind that your oral health affects all parts of your body, and even something like tooth decay can get into your bloodstream and cause heart problems. It's a reminder not to ignore the small details and not to ignore your hygiene, even when it doesn't seem important. Even when you think, oh, I could just skip one day of brushing my teeth. It's not a big deal. It's important to keep sight of the details. In June, we have the Temperance card. Temperance card is a Sagittarius card, interestingly enough. And it's very much about balancing your life and very much a continuation of the idea in May that you will be overcoming a lot of these baser instincts, addictions, and other problems that you've been having. Now, the other two cards that we have here in the reverse, we have the Seven of Swords here, which is this man making off with these swords and looking over his shoulder. But the card is in the reverse. So that says to me that either you've been trying to manipulate people and it hasn't been working, or that people have been trying to manipulate you and you're seeing right through it. We also have here, I feel like in a similar vein, we've got the King of Cups here. Now this could be because you personally are a fire sign. This King of Cups could represent a water sign in your life, and perhaps they have been trying to manipulate you. And do not ignore the details. But there will be a balance there, and you will find it. Text messages. Something about text messages. Which, that doesn't really mean anything this day and age, right? All right, so here we are in July, and we have the crystal. Now, this card is very interesting because we have these two grounding triangles here, and the flame underneath. Crystals have really wonderful properties outside of their metaphysical uses. The crystalline structure is very complex. The way that they're transparent, the chemical makeup, the way that quartz can be used in piezo's and radios and in all kinds of electronics. Selenite is a really miraculous type of crystal. They have a lot of great properties, and it is a treasure that comes from the earth, pretty much ready to use. So it could be, maybe that's a parallel for you. Let's see. There's quite a few people here. All right, so let me introduce these people to you. They're all in the reverse. We have this Queen of Cups. Now, this could very well be the water sign person that that you were interacting with in June. This could be that person. And as their influence is diminishing in your life, maybe that's why it's King of Cups here and Queen of Cups here. We have a Knight of Swords also in the reverse. This person could be an air sign, could be somebody that you work with. If you're in communications, it could be air signs, or like there's also properties like communication, logic. It could be somebody that you have a dealing with who is quick to words and doesn't really think about the actions or think about what the solution should be before they act. And then this last person we have here in July is the King of Pentacles, and that's reversed. And that could be a supervisor at work who you're having problems with. It could be an earth sign person who is very established and has money, does well in business. But it's tough to say. I don't see any fire energy here. So I do kind of feel like these are all people that you'll be interacting with in the month of July. And the crystal is reminding you not only what a treasure you are, but also to remain grounded when dealing with difficult people. They're only difficult as you see if you see them as being difficult, right? No, that's not true. All right, so going into August. We have the lungs, and up at the top of this card we have a spaceship. And then you can see all of the branching of the airways of the lungs. And down here we've got some eyeballs. Now, this is a reminder to always keep. And there's like actually little water droplets coming out of that spaceship too. The lungs are air, but they're also a little bit water. You don't want your lungs to get too dried out. And I live here in Los Angeles, where during the summer months the air can get kind of gross. So it's interesting that this would come up for August, which is arguably the hottest month of the year. July and August are usually pretty hot here. And I think it is that way for a lot of places in the Northern Hemisphere. And again, this motif with the eyes is about being aware of your surroundings and being aware of your ties to the skies. What do we have here? Pick these up like this. Okay. All right. So we have the Two of Wands and the Six of Swords reversed. To me, that's saying that wherever you are going, it's not necessarily that you don't want to go there. I think it's that you are still taking survey of what is out there, and that maybe you're not quite ready to make this departure. But it's something that you may be forced into doing. But we do have the wand here. And interestingly enough, there's all these little leaves floating around it that are like little tongues of flame, little embers coming off of it. In a way. Sometimes a cigar is just a cigar, after all. So you are more than capable of doing whatever is required of you in the month of August. But I think really what you're wanting to do is get a better lay of the land. So you're going to want to spend your time doing this, but I think that you will be forced to act, and it's possible that you won't be fully ready to do that yet in August. What do we have here? We have September. We have divining. And the person who drew this deck of cards, who is the artist behind this deck of cards, is Daniel Martin Diaz. And he has put his initials on this card. And then there's also these dowsing rods on either side and a palm. For palmistry, we've got flame. We've got these electrical lightning bolts. We've got a snake down at the bottom. All of these things speaking very much to different styles of folk magic, and even with the snake, with the serpent here, maybe even a touch of the snake handling. And of course an eye, because it wouldn't be divining if you weren't seeing things for what they really are. So let's find out more. Or there will be a swift closure, probably for your benefit. So that's what the Eight of Wands is about. It's about having a swift closure to a situation. We have this Page of Swords here, and that's in the upright. I don't feel like it's the same person that you were dealing with in July. Anything is possible, though. Everybody's situation is different. This is a general reading. But Page of Swords could be an air sign, or it could be you using your intellect and your powers of communication in a new way that you haven't before. And then we do have the Queen of Swords here as well. So lots of swords energy here. And maybe this represents this swift ending to a situation where you were immature about your communication, and you have come now into a place where you know how to handle your communications. And actually the Queen of Swords is kind of the queens are kind of closed off, actually, and are more likely to keep their motives to themselves, except for the Queen of, so like the Queen of Swords and the Queen of Cups very much keep their motives to themselves. The Queen of Wands doesn't need to tell everyone her business. She's just very confident. In the reverse, Queen of Wands could be a gossip. And then, of course, the Queen of Pentacles has wealth but doesn't need to make a show of it. So, just in general, the queens know how to handle their business, but they don't have to tell everybody about it. Especially true for the Queen of Swords. All right, so here is October. Hierarchy. Now this is a very interesting card. We have these keys going up and down. We have this pyramid clearly depicting an order, a ranking. from top to bottom, bottom to top. And the keys of mobility. So what do we have here? We have the Hermit, which would definitely be a carryover from September if we are to assume that you've now become the Queen of Swords and you are definitely guarding your secrets, but also doing more to contemplate them deeply. We have the Knight of Cups. This could be a new person coming in. It could also be this person from over the summer who is now coming back to you in a more positive way. So that's entirely possible. I would like to think this is a new water sign person who is a little less, who has a better influence on your life than this person from over the summer. And then we have the Lovers in reverse. So it is very possible that that is very similar. All right, 2 more months left, Aries. And then we'll go into some of these other things over here. We've got self-awareness in November. So that's very good. That means that you haven't let this person diminish you or what you have going on. What we have here, we have these dots, which are Braille at the bottom. It's not Braille on the card. We have this, I believe to be a double helix strand of DNA. We have this person here, and we have the flames of divinity rising up into heaven. Very much about knowing yourself down to the smallest molecule and how that benefits you in the month of November. We do have now the Three of Wands. And this Three of Wands is very much about scanning the horizon. You are waiting for your ships to come in. But they're very far away. You can kind of see out here, there's a couple ships there, but I don't think either of those are the ones that he's looking for in particular. We have the Nine of Wands, feeling like you've been left to hold down the fort. But as this card is in the reverse here, I think that that might be true for part of the month of November, but that by the end, you won't be feeling that way anymore. Because in fact, we have here, we've had the Three of Wands and the Nine of Wands, kind of about waiting for something. And then we have the Knight of Wands, I think, coming in by the end of the month and bringing you whatever it is that you're waiting for in the month of November. All right, December. It's a busy year. It's a busy year, Aries. Lots of tumultuous happenings. We have the first quarter of the moon, so these will be events that take place in the first quarter of the moon. We have the Page of Wands in verse, so it's entirely possible that this person who comes in November ends up to just kind of be a fling or whatever. We do have the King of Wands, so it could be, let's see what else we have here. We also have the Hanged Man in reverse. So I think what might happen here is that over the course of the first quarter of the moon in December, you've got this person coming in at the end of November. And then they kind of get wishy-washy on you. and you feel like you've kind of been left out to dry. And then by the end of the month, or by the end of the first quarter of the moon, can't forget about this signifier. By the end of that first quarter of the moon, you've got this person, either a new person who's a fire sign, or the person from before kind of gets it together and comes back in a more mature and adult way. So it's very interesting. I see a lot of love interests here for you. For those of you who are coupled, that could mean like business dealings. It doesn't have to be about romance strictly. I am only really basing that on the Aries that I know, and what I feel like they'll probably be going through this upcoming year. But of course, if it does resonate with you in any way, you could always get a personal reading and find out more. We've got, let's see, pick these up like this. So the Six of Cups reversed is about, well, the Six of Cups is about nostalgia. It's about things coming back from your past. I think because it's reversed here, maybe you're expecting things to come back from your past, or that a lot of things from your past will be leaving in 2020. We have the Five of Cups. So yes, I have seen quite a bit of loss here. There's a lot of good too. And then we do have the Four of Cups in reverse. And so I think that these cups are very much like together in this reading, insofar as like so here you've got these cups being offered, and this person thinks they're not good enough. But if they were being offered to this person, do you think they'd be good enough? It's kind of this idea that what you have isn't going to be enough for you to be happy. And that doesn't mean that it's not enough for you to survive the year. I think it's just that possibly there are things that you want from people that they are not equipped to give you. That's often the case. And I think specifically like what we were looking at here with don't forget that these are occurring around the full moon of May. And this is another five, the Five of Pentacles, where you feel like you've been left out in the cold, even though you've put so much work into yourself. That can be very frustrating, and you can kind of feel like sometimes you want some kind of reward for your hard work that you've done on yourself. But the payoff doesn't come like that always. Most of the time, the payoff is only noticed by you. And so these offer a connection to the infinite spiritual current that flows through the world. These are not so much names of God as they are formulae for your life. And this is not about fortune telling. This is going to be some meditation that you can use throughout the year 2020. And I'll just give you three kind of areas to work on in yourself. It doesn't have to be, All right. So we have Mem Zadik Resh, which is freedom. I perceive the balance and harmony that fills all creation, especially in the hardships, challenges, and tests that I now must face throughout life. With the power of this name, I arouse the strength to pass all those tests, to rise to a higher level of being, and to gain the joy and fulfillment that accompany true spiritual transformation. I unlock the chains of ego and achieve freedom. Yeah, okay. Oh, that's really interesting. Some of these are sparkly. I haven't had a chance to really go through them yet, but I will be doing a video on that deck. So we have Heaven on Earth, Yud Zayin Lamed. I ignite the light of the Messiah within myself, within others, and throughout the planet. The concept of heaven on earth becomes conceivable and achievable. And the last one that I will be leaving you with today is dumping depression. He Kof Mem. I have now been bestowed with the emotional strength to stand after I've stumbled, to rise after I have fallen, and to endure when the path seems unendurable. I bet you thought I was going to light this candle, huh? Well, if you promise not to get dragged down by all of these situations in 2020, I'll light it for you. All right, Aries. That's your yearly 2020 forecast. I am really glad that you joined me today. And I think that it'll be a good year. There will be a lot of things going on, and that's good. You won't be bored, that's for sure. And maybe it's important to look a little more closely at what you do have and pay attention to it. Again, thank you, Aries, for your support. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you again in February.